Hey, good morning, everyone. It's about 9:15 in the morning on the 10th of May, 2021. We've got about 15 minutes before the traditional market opens. I'd like to take a look at a few things before we start this week. There are more earnings this week. There is a lot of tension that is growing in the crypto markets as well. Good tension, not bad tension. Good tension. We are compressing, and we are about ready to make a big move in one direction. And I want to take a look at all these things and kind of figure out where things potentially could be going. But of course, as you all know, before I get into any of this, it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You are responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, just giving my opinion on the market. If you need access to our Discord server, there is a link in the video description for you to get access to it. And so let's go ahead and move on into the charts. All right, so I've got my Bitcoin chart, which, as you can see, I haven't touched since we put in what I potentially had as a 1-2. So I think we're working on wave 3, in my opinion. And what would invalidate this is if we went below this wave 2. And so we were talking about buying back here, right? Talking about buying, and I said at the time, go ahead and cash that out at 58,000. We went up there to, almost 59. Didn't quite get to 59, but or maybe we did. Depends on what exchange you were at. And of course, we had a little bit of a sharp decline, but what this looks like to me is a 1-2, 1-2, because off of those lows. Now that we've got some time to analyze here, you could easily count, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this can be counted as a 5-wave structure as well. Put that on a lower degree and it works. It works pretty well. So there's our 5 waves up, which again, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but of course there's always room for more downside. There's always, kind of two sides to every story, but off of this high here, which we had as our wave 3, right? I'll just kind of pull this down here so we can see this. I saw a nice expanded flat here. We had the A, B, C. It made technical sense, right? So we had a nice 3-wave correction, 3-wave correction, and then we had, potentially an A, B, C as a 5-3-5. So, it works well. It works well. Now, it could be that we have kind of a double correction. So you would see this as maybe a WXY, but then as potentially a WXYXZ. So we're not out of the woods, but I would say to be more optimistic than pessimistic. And there's a couple reasons why. Well, let's take a look really quickly at Litecoin. Okay, again, before I move on, I'm going to take a look at Litecoin, but just before I move on, you see that we've got this type of a formation. Let me see if I can fix this guy. Not a real big fan of the extension off to the right. All right, so I like to define where my lines end here. All right, so, we've got this going on, and then we've got this guy right here. So one could say this looks like an ascending wedge. And, typically these are kind of bullish. So there's a couple different kinds of wedges that you'll see, right? You'll see a wedge that looks something like this. This is typically a continuation pattern, depending on how the price action gets in there. So if you see the price going up into it, then usually you have this compression, and then it continues up higher, right? And the same thing could be true for the other direction. And I'm not going to spend the time drawing it out, but if it comes down, it'll bounce and consolidate, and that's what people refer to as a bear flag, and then it usually breaks down. So you really have to pay attention to that. Now, the other types of formations there are these flat top ascending wedges, which is similar to what we have here. It's not exactly right. It's not exactly like this, but you have a flat top where you have clear and defined resistance. And then, of course, again, what you'll typically see is some compressing before it finally breaks up and then does that retest and goes up higher. Now, if you want to trade these, you want to trade it based on this right here or this right here. You don't want to trade right? You don't want to trade this right here because it's going to pull back almost every time. Almost every time it's going to pull back and do that retest. So if you want to be a breakout trader, you want to buy the retest. You don't want to buy the breakout because there are many false breakouts, and you have to give yourself some kind of edge on a trade. You have to know when your trade is wrong. And if you buy all the way up here, well, then where are you wrong? Are you wrong if it fails the retest? Well, that's where you should have bought to begin with. If you buy when you get the retest, well, then you can close your trade if it closes on the inside of this triangle. If it comes back inside, then your chances are pretty good that it's going to keep going down. So just be careful with that. The other types of wedges, you're gonna have a flat bottom, and then you're gonna have this descending style, which is bearish. This is what Bitcoin did for almost all of 2018. You had the bubble pop, right? So let me just put this in here really quick. We had the bubble pop, and then we came down in February 2018, hit 6,000. It rallied to 12,000. It came back to 6,000, went back up, came down, back up, and eventually it broke down. Okay? So this is a bearish formation as well. When you have a descending upper and you have a flat lower, that is also a very bearish thing. But at any rate, what we have right now is a little bit of a rising wedge, which can be seen as bearish, but more often than not, these are kind of leading indicators where, yes, it will more than likely break down, but that dip is for buying. Okay? Kind of goes back into why I'm optimistic. And I said that I would go into Litecoin. Let's take a look at Litecoin really quick. We're going to take a look at Litecoin. And I was talking about, this potentially being near the bottom, right? So, and you can go back. You can go back sometime on the 27th, or maybe it was maybe the beginning of May. But I said altcoins are way more bullish than Bitcoin is because right here, okay? Let's just zoom in and just talk about this again. I know we've talked about this before, but I just want to outline how important this is. Altcoins, generally speaking, did not make a new low, while Bitcoin did, okay? So that tells me that Bitcoin is a little bit weaker than altcoins are because altcoins didn't make a new low. So it showed that there is demand for altcoins. If Bitcoin was super, super bearish, you would see altcoins start to drop below their previous low, which in this case for Litecoin was back here at approximately $207. When Bitcoin made a new low, Litecoin only went to 211. And this is true for a lot of different altcoins. David, I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, you want me to look at XRP? I can look at XRP. Yeah, there's no problem with that. But we had our indicators that we're talking about buying, and I said altcoins are not making new lows while Bitcoin is. This dip is for buying. And all in all, that has worked out very, very well. My upside target for Litecoin is still going to be sitting up here at about 475. Let me go to like a 4-hour time frame here and just take a look at this. So right here at 473, this is where I'm looking for Litecoin to top out. And this is kind of an older chart. Let me just kind of move this back up here because, again, this 3618 at 475 is where I'm looking for this cycle 3 to end. Now, that's only a cycle 3. That means we're going to consolidate a little bit for the wave 4, and then we go up for wave 5. My wave 4, you can see, is all the way out here. The projection is not, it's just kind of sitting here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't have a price prediction for wave 4 yet because we don't have a wave 3 in yet. Once we get a wave 3, then we can take a look and see where an upside target for that would be. But my ultimate target for Litecoin is going to be somewhere between $700 to $1,000. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Let's take a look at Ripple. David asked me to take a look at Ripple, so I'm more than happy to take a look at that. I'm going to take a look at Ripple on Poloniex because the most price action is on Poloniex. I'm going to take a look at it on a daily. All right, so I haven't done analysis on Ripple on Poloniex. So I'm going to basically do this from scratch. And what I'm looking at here is... All right, so we've got a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go up for wave 5. Okay, that looks like my wave 1. A little bit of an expanded flat here into wave 2. And then wave 4 doesn't violate wave 1. And you can see where I was talking about on Bitcoin, this leading diagonal, right? So that means we had some compression here. And then, yeah, it broke down, but it's very bullish. Okay, a leading diagonal into wave 1, an expanded flat into wave 2, that spells bullish. That's bullish behavior. And then, of course, from here, we had a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a truncation here into wave 3. Then we had our correction, wave 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish that move. Then we had our pullback. Now I'm going to take a look here, fib retracement. I'm going to take my dominant pivot low, look left, dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high, right there. And then we came down to the 618. I would imagine we probably came to near the 786. Did we quite get there? We did not. Did we make it to, let's see here, do I have the 713 on here? I don't think I do, so let me just throw that on here. 0.713. So that's going to be right down there. I don't look at that very often, but that's another area of support past the 618. If it doesn't get to the 786 and it goes past the 618, but it looks like it's bouncing, take a look at the 713. That worked out. Okay. So this is wave 2. All right. So how bullish can Ripple really get? Well, look at Doge. Look at what Doge has done. It's been absolutely ridiculous. So again, trend-based fib extension tool. Look left, dominant pivot low. Look right, dominant pivot high, and then we get our pullback right here. That's our pullback. So our target is going to be the 1618. That's going to be at 441. Can Ripple get to 441? It absolutely can. That's basically 2x from where we're at right now. Now, does that mean you should go and ape into to Ripple right now? That's not what that means. That's not what that means. And in fact, the indicators are saying that we're probably going to see a little more downside before we see upside, okay? So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes, this does look like we are going to pull back a little bit more, maybe even as low as maybe $1.18 to $1.20, somewhere down here potentially. Let me just throw a fib on that and let's see if there's any confluence with that. And I'm going to tell you why I kind of picked that price here in just a moment. So I just picked that price by eyeballing. All right, so here's 115 at the 618. So again, look left, okay? A couple things that we see here. You guys should always be paying attention to prior price action, okay? Right here. There's so much confluence right there. There's prior support, prior resistance. We have not retested this prior resistance. Of course, obviously, we retested this as resistance, but we have not retested it as support. Would not surprise me one bit to see Ripple come back down to about $1.15. Wouldn't surprise me. Is that bullish? Heck yes, it is. What did I just say? I said more than likely Ripple at some point this year is going to hit over $4. So that would be very bullish. Okay, that would be very bullish. If it did come back down to $1.15, I'd be very bullish, and I would be looking for that move up to $4 at some point this year. So that, again, is going to be kind of a long hold, which is a little different from how I usually trade. But with alts and crypto, you can get good entries. Like a really good example was right here. Our indicator was saying to buy. This was actually a great buy signal below $1. Okay, you had the 1 hour, the 3 hour, and the 12 hour all down and oversold at the exact same time. And this is a recipe for buying in a bullish market. We do this in stocks. We do this in crypto. And of course, it can be used in metals and in all kinds of other different assets. It doesn't work well in Forex, just full disclosure. But this is always a good indication to be buying. When was the last time we got a buy signal like this? In a capitulation phase, people were getting, very bearish. You know what? And actually, I want to point this out because we were just talking about wedges. Just look at this. This is another great example of that wedge. Of course, as I mentioned before, it's a continuation, right? So we had this move down, and then we had that bounce, compression, A, B, C, D, E, and then it breaks down. Okay? And again, typically, that is going to be that finishing move, and the indicator called it. The indicator doesn't know what chart formations are happening. It just works. So yes, I would say ultimately it looks like Ripple may want some lower prices. It looks like it may want to go a little bit lower. I'm looking at the indicator. This isn't a good place to be buying. I issued some alerts on the Discord server yesterday about things that I'd be buying. So far, so good. But yeah, the last time we got a buy signal on Ripple was, like a really good buy signal was back here at 40 cents. And it's up significantly from there. So buying here, adding here, right? You can take that approach as well. If you're in here for long term, wait for that 12-hour to get down and oversold, and then wait for the 1 and 3 to get down there as well. It's a great recipe for success in a bull market. Now, if you're in a bear market, which we're not right now, but if you're in a bear market, the opposite is true. You want to wait for that 12-hour to get way up high, and then wait for the 1 hour and the 3 hour to get way up high, and then that's when you look to sell. And that would have been, right here would have been the best recipe right here, and that was near the top, I would say, up here at about $1.85, and then to reaccumulate down here. Now, it's not always perfect like this. And a good case would be like right here. This would have looked like a top, but again, we're in a bull market. We're not in a bear market. If this was a bear market, this would be a great signal to sell or short. But we're in a bull market, so I tend to be buying the good setups to the downside, for good risk management. Anyway, I also want to take a look at the S&P, and I want to take a look at Nasdaq. And I know the traditional market's just opened up, so I'm really interested in what's going on over there. So let's take a look and see what ES is doing right now. So it looks like a little drop into the open. Not bad. I'm going to make a change here because I actually think this is the A, this is the B, and this is the C. I actually think for the time being that 236 was all that we're going to get, and we bought longs back here. And the reason why we bought longs back here is because, again, dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high, we get that pullback. We had a 618 pullback, we bought. That was a great buy. So far, so good. We actually had a 100% expansion to the upside here, almost to 42.39. Do I think it's going to go higher? Yes, I actually do. In my opinion, dips are for buying. Okay, because off of this low here, this looks to me like a 1, A, B, C into the 2. And of course, we're working on 3, 4, 5. So yes, I think that that S&P is pretty bullish. I think that Dow Jones is leading. I think that that the S&P is kind of that middleman, and I think Nasdaq is the lagging. And we talked about that. I'm more bullish on Nasdaq than I am on the S&P. And I'm more bullish on the S&P than I am on Dow Jones. Now, yes, I think they're all going to go up, but from when it comes to a point movement standpoint, I think that Nasdaq has more potential for higher gains than, say, Dow Jones does. So yeah, ultimately, I am still bullish on the S&P. A nice pullback right here to about 42.11 would be a good place to to be looking for support. And that is based off of this prior resistance right here, and also down here as well. So this zone, we'll zone it out here, right here, down to I'd say about right here. This is going to be our support zone. This is our buying area. And again, if this is a 1, 2, and we finish that 3, so you could count this as a wave 3, a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or potentially a 1, 2, 3, and then we're working on a little 4, and then we go up for wave 5, which would finish that wave 3. One way or another, there's going to be some support here. So if we count this as the wave 2, and we're working on the wave 3, there's our 382 right there at 42.08. If we take this guy down a bit, you're still going to have that support at the lower area of 42.01. So one way or another, dips, in my opinion, this week are going to be for buying. There is going to be a time here in the very near future where we basically are going to be cashing out. We're going to go to cash, maybe take some, conservative, short, long-term short positions. But for right now, I think the market continues moving in that upward direction. Take a look at Nasdaq. See what we've got going on here. Nasdaq, again, it's the lagger, right? It's lagging behind. And we're potentially getting a 1, 2, 1, 2 setup here Let's just take a look at the fib analysis on this. Where are we at? We're almost down here to the 618. I don't see a really good trade setup for like a really good buy. If this doesn't hold at 13,550, it probably is not a good sign. And we had an area to buy, which was down here at about 13,318. If we break down below 13,550, then we would have to look down here for that support. Personally, I'm already long from down here, so I'm just going to kind of wait and see what happens for right now. Right now, I'm just going to kind of wait and see. But that 13,550 needs to hold. If it doesn't, I may exit this long and then look to see if I can get in a little bit lower, lower down here. So that's kind of what I see on Nasdaq. The only reason why I'm entertaining the possibility that this may be coming down to 13,319 is because the indicators are telling me that there is some potential downside short term ahead. Long term, we're bullish. Long term, we're bullish. And when I say long term here, we're hitting that 618 right now. So it's real interesting to see what's going to happen there. It hit it. It was off by like $1. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. It's just interesting that it's doing this right as we're talking about it. So it's touching that 618 again. If that doesn't hold, right? So if we close this hourly, which still has 22 minutes in it, if we close that hourly below 13,550, then we consider getting out of these longs from down here and then look to get in a little bit lower. But we're already getting a little bit of reaction here. It's all real time, so. Just have to be patient, right? Because again, we still have 22 minutes left in this candle, a lot of time for things to resolve. But if we get some absorption on this candle, and that's a term that I haven't used in a while, if we get absorption in the candle, which means that we have a long wick on the bottom, again, that's very, very bullish. But again, patience, time, 22 minutes, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. More than likely, it's going to go a little bit lower. It's going to poke lower. But what matters the most, here we go. What matters the most is how it closes. Is it going to close above it, right? Is it going to close above that mark, which right now is at about 13,550. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, that is what I've got on Nasdaq. That's what I've got on the S&P. I've taken a look at Bitcoin. I've taken a look at Litecoin, Ripple. I want to look really quickly at Tesla. Because I've been bearish on Tesla, and I just recently have kind of changed my mind a little bit. So looking at this, this was my prior projection on Tesla to come down to about 420. So looking here, right, I have a WXY. A lot of people are talking about this as being a 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so a couple things here. Yeah, I can count 5 waves here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the 1, and then a correction here. What I'm having a hard time with is this right here. It's hard for me to count an impulsive move out of this. I can't really, and if I go to maybe a 30-minute time frame, maybe I can force one out of this, but I'm having a really hard time creating something bullish out of this because this looks corrective. Yeah, I can count a 1, 2, 3, long 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can force it. So right now I'm unresolved. I'll say that I'm unresolved on Tesla. The bullish case has us, finding this pullback here as a 2. Instead of a WX, this would be a 1, 2. Instead of a Y, that's a nested 1, and then, of course, down here for the 2. Let's just take a look and see what kind of fib support that we've got on all of this. Okay, so we've got from here, we've got this pullback to the 618. Let me remove that 713 just so I can prevent some confusion. So we had a pullback to the 618. That's bullish. We hit that negative 236 extension, right? Some of the best trades are buying at the 618 and selling at the negative 236. That worked out. All right, so now let's take it up to the top up here, and let's pull up this guy right here. Where are we at? Well, actually, right now, we're at that 618. Support, support. We're trying to break down a little bit on Tesla right now. But again, we're at that same area. So if we can find some support here, or even down here, which is probably that 786. Let me throw the 786 on here, if it'll let me. All right, so I'm gonna finish this up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end. Yeah, so that 786 is right there at 627. But really today we need to flip from red to green. I'd like to see a flip from red to green, because 1, 2, A, B. I'm going to have to spend a little time with this guy, because I'm not giving up on the bearish count. We would actually need to see some accelerated selling this week if my bearish count is to remain active. But I'm cautiously optimistic that there could be a 1-2-1-2, which is, again, very, very bullish. That would support the theory that the S&P is going to go up to that 4,300, 4,450, those very, very high marks in the next couple weeks. But, we really have to see, some turning around, at least some curvature on here, that we've made a low and we're not going to start making new lows. If we start making new lows, and they're probably going to follow this trajectory here, if we see continued lows, we'll have to go back and reevaluate. But actually this could still be setting up as a falling wedge, which would be still pretty bullish. So I'm a little unresolved on Tesla, and actually in EV in general. Some of the most common questions that I get are, what do you think about things like, what do you think of things like Fisker, NIO? I actually am a little more bullish on NIO than I am on Tesla, but I'm unresolved on the EV market short term, right? As you can see here with Tesla, my main count is bearish, but I do have an alternate, which I am kind of trading a little bit, that would provide some upside. If we can take out this yellow trend line, which again, from this high here, we've got this high here. If we can take that out, significant upside ahead. I mean, we would see kind of an explosive move up and out of here, but we've got to break through that first. All right. I've chatted for too long here. I'm going to go ahead and end the video. If this video did help in any way, shape, or form, as you all know, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And of course, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening.